Hi everybody, and welcome once again to my video blog. So I guess you don't see me very often wearing makeup. The reason I'm wearing makeup today is that I went to have a professional photo shoot done for the Trans Boys and Trans Girls calendar. So if you're interested in supporting trans people in need, you can go visit the website, thetcal.org, and maybe consider buying the calendar. There will be a picture of me in there and of other trans women, and there's also a trans men edition that will be available. So today's video blog will be about sex. Sex is a pretty awkward topic in our society. I think that nowadays people are a lot more open to talking about it than they used to be, but I think it's still not optimal to, we don't really talk about it openly. We have to be pretty close to people before we can open ourselves up about it. And I think that because of that, a lot of people are still uneducated. A lot of parents don't feel comfortable teaching their children about sex, about safe sex, about the things that they should know. And because of that, a lot of people are running around not very well educated when it comes to sex, and possibly not enjoying their sex life as much as they could be. I can tell you myself that my mother taught me as a kid that masturbation was wrong, that it was... She didn't teach me that it was a sin, but she taught me that it was a way of wasting your life energy and all sorts of weird new age crap. But in the end, she kind of made me scared of sex and of masturbation. And as a teenager, I started, like every other teenager, masturbating, and I felt really awkward about that. I felt like I was doing something wrong, but I had a sex drive, and it was a very intense sex drive, and I couldn't really help myself. And in the end, what my mom taught me, basically to be ashamed of myself, didn't really help me. It took me a number of years to realize that it was a completely normal and healthy thing that pretty much everybody does. Or if they don't do it all the time, everybody tries it at least at some point in their life. And my mother also taught me other things. She taught me basically that sex was a very profound bonding experience between two people, and that you should only ever have sex with people that you're very, very closely connected to, only in a loving relationship. And again, I feel like she did me some damage because she basically made me feel scared of sex, and she made me feel that in order to have sex, I had to be with a woman that I really truly thought was the woman of my life, and that I was 100% sure that this was going to be the woman of my life, and that I shouldn't have sex in any other circumstance. And basically because of that, I remained a virgin until the age of 22. And I am now 25. So I've been having sex for 3 years. And today I'm going to be giving you sex advice, which you will hopefully find useful. I can at least tell you, even though I only have 3 years of experience in terms of sex, that I've always been pretty well educated. My mom didn't teach me maybe what I think is optimal. She kind of taught me to be scared of sex, which I guess is a way of, parents do that because they want to protect their children. They don't want them to run around having lots of sex, lots of unprotected sex. They want us to be careful. But nevertheless, she bought me books about sexuality. She was always supportive of me getting informed about, the important facts. And I took sexuality classes when I was in college, as well as psychology courses, which I felt were very informative, And I think that, the best advice I could give to anyone, if you want to have great sex, is to be well informed. You should be well informed about contraception, about STDs, about what the real risks are, what are the most efficient methods of contraception, and exactly how do they work, and how can you make them maximally effective and all that, because people have all sorts of misinformed ideas. For example, about contraception, people think that having anal sex cannot result in pregnancy, which is not true. And people also tend to think that when you have a man and a woman having sex, that if the man pulls out before ejaculating, that the woman can't get pregnant, which is, again, not true. And people make mistakes like that, and girls, because of that, end up, with unwanted pregnancies and all that, which is really sad. But anyways, I guess enough about boring stuff. So what do I want to talk about today? Well, I guess I want to give sex advice that can be useful for trans women, especially trans women who are having sex with other women, but also trans women who are having sex with men and just people in general. And perhaps also for admirers or men who are into trans women, or people who are in a relationship generally with a trans woman. But I think that this advice could even be useful for some trans men as well. So to begin with, what are the things that I think are important to having good sex? I think that if you want to have good sex, you want to enjoy your sex life, it's important to be open-minded about sex in general, about what kinds of sexual practices you might be willing to have. It's important to be fairly comfortable with your body. I think that if you hate your body, if you really hate your genitals, it's going to make it harder for you to really enjoy yourself, to really let yourself go, and to come to an orgasm. And I know that for some trans women and some trans men, this can be very difficult. It can be very difficult to be comfortable with your genitalia. But I think that until you can have SRS, if that's what you want, you should probably try to at least be accepting of the fact, that the genitalia you have will enable you to have orgasms, that it's a part of your body that you were born with, and that if you're open at least to the idea of letting your partner touch your genitalia, that this can enable you to get more sexual pleasure and to get intimacy. And if you're a trans woman in particular, you should realize that when you get the operation, they're not going to remove your erectile tissue entirely, and they're not going to remove your penis. What they're going to do is take the head of your penis and reconstruct a small clitoris. And as a trans woman, you shouldn't necessarily think that your penis and that having erections and enjoying sex through your penis is a masculine thing. You should realize that women have clitorises, which are essentially like very small penises, and that it is through the clitoris that women have orgasms, and clitorises do become erect when women are aroused, and that it's a perfectly normal thing. And if you're willing to accept that and to be open to that, I think it can greatly help in your sex life. And if you're a man or a woman who is in a relationship with a trans woman, I think you should be aware, it's important for you to be aware that trans women are often uncomfortable with their genitals, and that you have to be patient with your partner. You can't force things onto your partner. You shouldn't insist too hard. You should be patient and progressive. And I think that, if partners can trust each other when it comes to sex and can communicate very well about what they want, what they don't want, what they like and what they don't like, that can lead to much better sex. So communication is extremely important. I think that you should communicate about sex, what is it that you want, what is it that you fantasize about with your partner, but you should also communicate during sex. If you're having sex and your partner is doing something that doesn't really work for you, you probably should tell them. Try to tell them nicely, and maybe then you can get them to change what they're doing and to make your sex better. And then that brings me to my last point. I think that sex is an eternal learning experience. You're never done learning about sex. You'll always learn new things about yourself, new things that you enjoy, new things about your partner. And also, you'll learn to know your body and your partner's body. I can tell you myself that, the first time I had sex was very awkward. Like, I think most people, the first time we have sex, it's pretty awkward. It doesn't really work well. Most men, the first time they have sex, they come too quickly. In my case, the first time I had sex, I couldn't really get to an orgasm. It took forever to happen. And I generally felt awkward and uncomfortable. And it took me a while, to get into the dynamic of how I could bring myself to orgasm and how I could bring my partner to orgasm. I had to learn how to become good at sex. And one of the ways I did that is by getting feedback, by talking to my partner. So again, communication is very important. And of course, I had never seen a vagina before the first time I had sex, and it took me a while to learn, how to make a woman come to an orgasm. But one of the important things you should know about vaginas if you are having sex with someone who has one is that penetration often doesn't just do it on its own, I think a lot of men have this idea in their head that, you just penetrate a woman steadily, very fast and very hard for some number of minutes and the woman comes to an orgasm. But a lot of women do not come to orgasm just from penetration. A lot of women, in order to come, they will need you to play with their clitoris, with your fingers or with your mouth or something like that, or with a vibrator. And I think you should be open to that. If you're with a woman and you want to bring her to an orgasm, maybe you can penetrate her and yourself come to an orgasm, and then afterwards you can consider, doing something for her to make sure that she comes. And you could also remember that, most genetic women can have multiple orgasms. So sometimes it's possible to make a woman come, it's easily possible, I think, to make most women come 3 times, but some women you can even make them come, 6 or 7 times. So again, if you're patient and if you're having sex with your partner, possibly that's something you can explore, multiple orgasms. Usually, most women, I think, will require a few minutes of rest between orgasms, but that's a nice time to do some petting and all that, and to cuddle. So this is my advice for just everybody in general on how to have good sex. Inform yourself, communicate, and be patient. I think it helps to be in a stable relationship, because once again, not everybody reacts the same way. Not everybody will get pleasure from the same sexual acts. So you have to get to know your partner, and your partner has to get to know you. But you don't necessarily need to be in a love relationship to have great sex with someone. Possibly, if you're just having casual sex with a fuck buddy, then just being regular with the same person. If they're nice and patient and willing to listen, you can possibly just have better and better sex with this person with time and experience. And I wanted to give some advice also that's maybe more specific to trans women. In particular, I myself have had some difficulties with my sex drive. I can tell you that testosterone is the hormone that scientists believe is linked to sex drive. So scientists believe that testosterone causes sex drive in most people. And so if you have a high testosterone, you risk having a high sex drive, and if you have very low testosterone, you risk having no sex drive. And the problem is when you're a trans woman and you're taking testosterone blockers or anti-androgens like spironolactone or Androcure, what you're doing is you're reducing your levels of testosterone. And in a lot of cases, I think doctors will prescribe too much anti-androgen, and what will happen is that your testosterone will go from a normal genetic male level to almost 0. And what will happen then is that your sex drive will most often go to almost 0 as well, which is kind of sad, because when you have almost 0 sex drive, you just lose all desire for sex, and that makes having sex very difficult. It also makes getting to an orgasm if you're having sex extremely difficult. It removes all the potential for you to have erections, which in my personal experience, have been necessary for me to reach orgasm. I don't mean that's necessarily the case for everybody, but still, I think a healthy sex drive is important for you to enjoy sex, and for you to have a good sex life with your partner. And if you're taking too much anti-androgens, that could be a problem. So I think an important point I'd like to make is that having 0 testosterone is not really necessarily optimal. I think that what you should aim for is to bring your testosterone levels as a trans woman in the normal female range. And the normal female range is not 0. Women normally have some amount of testosterone, and this is what causes them to have some sex drive, you know. I think most women on average have less sex drive than men. It's been shown that women think about sex less than men, but women do have a sex drive, and women do have testosterone. And testosterone can also contribute to you having, you know, energy and the desire to live. So in other words, if you bring your testosterone to zero, not only might you find yourself with a low sex drive, you might find yourself feeling depressed and extremely tired all the time, which is also undesirable in general. So that's an important point to consider. I myself have spent quite a while looking for a hormone regimen that would work for me. I've tried many anti-androgens, and I've tried several kinds of estrogen. What I'm taking right now is a low dose of Androcure. I'm taking only 25 milligrams a day, so that's like half a 50 milligram pill of Androcure every day before bed, because it can make you feel sleepy. So I take it before going to bed. And once every week I inject myself with injectable estradiol valerate. Once again, I don't take very much. I take 0.2 ml at 20 milligrams per ml once a week. So once every Monday I inject myself with that. And I do the injection using subcutaneous needles. So those are like insulin needles. So it's a very short, very small needle, not painful at all. And I inject it under the skin in my belly. This was recommended by my doctor, which is an endocrinologist working with many trans men and trans women. And I believe he's one of the only ones who recommends doing the injection subcutaneously. So if you're interested in trying this regimen, you could try it yourself. I can't guarantee that the doses that I just gave will work for you. You might have to adjust them because your metabolism won't necessarily react the same way as mine does. But I think what this demonstrates is that you can get away with taking very little anti-androgens and still get good feminization results. You can get a good sex drive and still keep your testosterone fairly low, but within the normal female range. And there used to be a time where my sex drive was really low on other anti-androgens, and where I couldn't get erections anymore. And when this was going on, me and my partner were a little bit disappointed, you know, because we do have penetrative sex. You know, I use my penis with my girlfriend. And what I did at the time was take Viagra. And I've discovered that Viagra, when you have erectile difficulties as a trans woman, it still works extremely well. You know, it's still very effective. But with my current hormone regimen, I don't even need it anymore. I can get erections, you know, very naturally, quite easily, and I don't have those kinds of issues anymore. So, you know, I'm here to say that it is possible to be a trans woman and to have a hormone regimen that works both to feminize you and also to keep your sex drive healthy and keep your genitalia functional if you're into that, and also to avoid depression issues and all that. Apart from that, well, I wanted to talk a little bit about casual sex. As I said earlier, my mother taught me that casual sex was a bad thing, and that you absolutely needed to be in a relationship with someone you truly loved to have sex. I guess the funny thing is the way I met my girlfriend basically was on Craigslist. I was 22 years old, I was feeling extremely lonely, and I was still a virgin, and I decided someday that I wanted to lose my virginity. So I posted an ad on Craigslist where I explained that I wanted to lose my virginity, and I was looking for someone understanding and nice, and that I wanted, you know, to have safe, clean, mutually enjoyable sex, and that I was a virgin, and, you know, that I didn't know where this was going to take me, but I just wanted somebody to do it in a way that was mutually respectful and hopefully mutually enjoyable. And, you know, it worked out. This is how I met my girlfriend. We met, and the plan originally was just to have casual sex and, you know, to be fuck buddies, but very quickly, you know, we developed feelings for each other. I can tell you that before we even met in person, we chatted online, and we chatted for hours. Basically, we instantly clicked. You know, our personalities clicked together. We found that we had a lot in common. I told her that I was trans, and she told me that she was into people who were androgynous, and that she was very into me and my appearance, and that she'd always been fascinated by trans people, even though she didn't know I was trans when I just posted my ad on Craigslist. And that's it, we clicked and it worked out. And now we've been in a relationship for almost 3 years in a week. And so I'm telling this story to tell you, that people, I think, should relax about sex. I think it's totally conceivable to, just have sex with someone who's maybe just a friend or just someone you met in a bar. And so long as you have sex, in a safe and mutually respectful way, it might be fun, it might be enjoyable, and possibly you could be meeting someone that you're going to have a relationship with. You never know. You never know how you might meet someone. And I think people should be just more relaxed about it. For trans women who are into women, I think it's somewhat difficult sometimes to find sexual partners because straight women aren't necessarily going to be into us because they probably will want someone masculine, and lesbians can sometimes reject trans women, because when you're pre-op and you still have a penis, some of them might be repulsed by that. But I think you shouldn't give up. I think if you're nice and persistent, you can meet someone for you. I've known lots of trans women who ended up in relationships with lesbians and who are very happy now. So I think it's always possible to find someone. My best advice for you, if you want to meet someone, is to be proactive about it. Go on dating websites and contact people you find attractive, and maybe do try to go to lesbian bars, and try again to be proactive and try talking to people. Try going to them and talking to them instead of waiting for people to hit on you. I think that personally, this is a mistake that I've made as a teenager. I was expecting for people to make it obvious to me that they were attracted to me, but in the end, I think if you want to meet people for love or for sex, the best approach is to be proactive about it. And so this concludes my video for today. I hope you found it helpful. I know this is an awkward topic for some people, but again, I think we ought to be more open about this. And I think there's nothing shameful about sexuality, and there's nothing shameful about enjoying your sex life. And if you have anything else you'd like to add, feel free to post a comment or to make a video response. So that's it for today, people. Bye bye.